question for you. Are you having courageous conversations in your relationship? Meaning, are you talking about the things that really matter to you on a deep core level? Or are you staying more in the superficial stuff that maybe it's fun to talk about, but it may not be super important to the future of your relationship? Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that every conversation you ever have with your partner should be a courageous conversation. Sometimes we do just want to talk about the weather or how our day was or what we want to have for dinner. But what I'm talking about when I say courageous conversation is this idea of being vulnerable and authentic when you connect in communication with your significant other. Are you talking about the things that really matter? If there is a struggle, if there is an issue, if there is a disagreement, do you meet it head on? Do you try to schedule some time to really talk about it and hash things out? Or do you keep putting it off and just sort of hoping it'll get okay or it'll rectify itself? I understand that. I think a lot of couples feel that way, that sometimes there's a fear if you talk about those things that really matter, it might lead to a disagreement, or it might lead to hurt feelings or anger or frustration. And although those emotions might surface, if you don't talk about it, all of those things that you're thinking get pushed down, and that's where resentment comes from. This idea that because there's so many unresolved things or so many conversations that you haven't had but probably need to have had, it just festers, it just builds up, and it creates this sort of residue effect where now every conversation you're having can turn into a disagreement, or it feels like you've gotten off the same track, the same page with your partner, and you can't quite figure out why at one point you seemed side by side and now you sort of feel like you've diverged some. So when you're thinking about what it means to have courageous conversation, download my free relationship communication guide. That might be a good place to start. It will allow you to start thinking through what elements do you need to add to your communication for it to fall under the category of courageous conversation. In addition to that, I really want you to ask yourself, are there things I need to be sharing or talking about with my partner that I'm not, that I'm avoiding, that I'm keeping under the surface, and they have no idea how I feel, but yet I might be sort of holding them accountable for feelings that they aren't even aware that I'm having. We don't want to start holding each other like hostage with our emotions. And so the only way I know to go from where we are to where we want to be is to go through all this messiness in the middle. And the best way to do that is to start hashing things out. Now, I want to give you a few requirements or criteria that you may want to think about. Don't feel like you have to solve everything in one conversation. First, I want you to schedule some time to talk. Then I want you to set a timer for no more than maybe 15 to 30 minutes for you to really hash out what's on your mind, but that you're doing it with integrity. You're both on the same page, and you know that that is a safe environment for you to start talking about the things that really matter beneath the surface. If you want a little bit more info on how all of this goes, make sure you check out my next video, which is going to be all about the process of active listening, which goes hand in hand with courageous conversation.